Hello, my friend and earthly neighbor, and welcome back to the first full week of psychedelic September. And Sensei says reality starts to shift back to normal. We're past the apex of the sun opposing Neptune. Mercury finally goes direct, and it's time to put the pieces of your life back together. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a cheerful way to kickstart your day. I'm your heartfelt host and what I call the Sensei to serious joy, Christopher Witecki. Welcome back, my friend. Namaste. Well, if you're just tuning in or if you're just finding me, 2017 has been a hell of a year. In fact, it all sort of apexed in Leo when we had a total solar eclipse in Leo and a lunar eclipse in Aquarius. That happened in August. Right after that, we had Mercury go retrograde, which kind of made everything feel inside out. Well, I am happy to report that I think life will start to get back to reality this week. We're finally past the apex of the sun opposing Neptune, and Mercury direct means you can move forward with business and you can think with your right mind. So in our upcoming segment this week, I'm going to walk you through the steps of coming back into reality. And later in your tea time, I'm going to talk about what Mercury direct means for you. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, September 4th to Friday, September 8th, 2017. Looking at your 5-day moodcast. Well, looking at the week at a glance, it looks like the real powerful days will be Tuesday and Friday. Let's drill down. On Monday, it is sunny, but you are learning as we have a holiday here in the United States, and the moon in Aquarius detaches you from everything. On Tuesday, it's sunny and shifty as step 13 rules the day, and Mercury goes direct, bringing back your senses. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and releasing as you finally realize something about your reality and you can detach from the outcome. On Thursday, it's sunny and strong as step 15 rules the day and Mars in Virgo brings you some strength. And then on Friday, it's cloudy and spiritual as you ask God Universe for the right path and the right reality. Well, this week, I really think it's a transformative week. That's maybe why it's only a 4-day work week here in the United States. In your next segment this week, I'm going to talk you through the transition. Taking a peek at the upcoming week, I coined this week, coming back to reality. And I mean that literally, my friend. Over the last 6 weeks or so, we've had some of the most incredible astrological storms that I have witnessed since I have become an astrologer, and that's been nearly 12 years. We had a total solar eclipse in Leo, partial lunar eclipse in Aquarius, followed by Mercury retrograde in Virgo, mostly. And what that has meant is a total twisting and inside out of what our heart wants, where we feel we belong, and what we think reality is. So you could say the universe has done a total mind on us. Okay, I won't say the word, but literally, right? And so this week is the first week where we start to get our senses back and start to understand and coordinate what reality is for us and what reality we intend to live by. You could say that up until now, we've been working on the inside of us to change railroad tracks. Think of us as this locomotive of karma moving forward, right? Well, we've been on this locomotive of karma maybe since the day we were born. The eclipses that happened in August were basically a wake-up call that said, hey, you're on the wrong track. You're headed for the wrong station. This isn't what your heart wants. And when Mercury went retrograde, we've been kind of thinking, well, what does that mean? How do we go? How do we switch tracks? Is this even possible anyways? Well, this week, you realize, yes, it is possible. You'll realize here's where the railroad track switch is, And then the full moon will be actually where you shift your huge railroad to a new karmic track, if that's a good metaphor to help you understand. So let me walk you through the week and how this works. First, on Monday, it's sunny and learning. Now, Monday is a national holiday in the United States, which is very rare. The United States does not get very many paid days off, actually. So it may look like it's great to live here, but it's slave work. Okay, let me just tell you, like, we work too hard. So when we have a day off, that's one of the few times Americans will sit back and reflect on their life. Now, isn't it interesting that on this day, this is the day when the sun opposes Neptune 100% directly. The sun at step 12, Neptune at step 12, Pisces, okay? And in this opposition, all right, you will literally have some sort of tug-of-war in yourself between where your faith is and what is real. And in many cases, you will say, you know what, everything I've been thinking is real is not. I actually think it's something beyond what I can see. I think there's something not being shown to me. I think there's a hidden card in this playing deck. And so somewhere you'll have an argument with faith versus reality. It could be that you've been going through a lot of weird symptoms on the inside of you through all these transitions. And finally on Monday you're like, okay, this is cuckoo and this is reality. At least we've separated our Easter baskets, right? So Monday's a day of really learning and to some degree breaking through. It's also Mars at step 29 Leo, so there's this big push for your heart to finally get what it wants, a big like, please universe, please. So Monday, I think, is very introverted, but very powerful. No matter who you hang out with or what you do on that Monday, there will be some sort of new door open, a new door of enlightenment that you needed to find out. Then Tuesday is the real wacky day. Tuesday is sunny and shifting. And here's why. For one, step 13 rules the day. Step 13 is breakdown, breakthrough. Virgo is reality. So we'll see some sort of breakdown and breakthrough of reality. Expect traffic delays, all right? Secondly, Mercury goes direct. So we have a flipping of all of our electrical appliances, a flipping of our thinking. Finally, business is moving forward. So reality now seems crystal clear, where I would say before was very much in a fog. The sun now has crossed its opposition to Neptune, which is really good, which means we're coming out of the fog phase, out of the dreamy state, out of the unreal state. And that night, we have the full moon. So after having some sort of breakthrough on Tuesday, emotions carry through to the full moon. And the full moon technically apexes at around 3 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday morning. And so Wednesday I predict to be a cloudy, overcast, chance of showers, and likely you'll be releasing. So the way I look at this is, on Monday you realize what reality really is, okay, and realize what's been fake and what hasn't been fake. On Tuesday, you have the breakthrough, Mercury goes direct, and you can finally start seeing things the way they are, and then immediately on Wednesday there's a full moon to kind of flush it all out the door. This full moon will be conjuncting Neptune, so whatever realizations you come to on Wednesday, whatever spiritual revelations you have, whatever clarity you have on the inside, it is spiritually driven. I think God Universe is intervening, so pay attention to your dream life, pay attention to the symbolism, the metaphors. It's not an accident between Tuesday and Wednesday. So Tuesday and Wednesday are the craziest days, and you might have to do some releasing, which means some crying and some letting go of the old in order to embrace the new. So you might need to take pity on what you've been through and be compassionate to what your path has been. Now that full moon of the release, letting go of the old railroad track, to me that's when we shift on to the new railroad track. So on Thursday I think you feel sunny and quite strong, because now you get what reality is. Things are finally starting to make sense and come together. The moon is in Aries, so you start to pick up speed, you start to pick up strength. And Mars now is at 1 degree Virgo, which means your ego is now behind this reality change. The weird thing so far is up until Thursday, we had all this concept of reality change, but our ego is back in Leo. So our ego is dreaming about love and dreaming about perfection, and meanwhile we're being faced with all this icky reality. Finally on Thursday, your ego is there to deal with reality, to pay the bills, to talk to the plumber, whatever is necessary. So Thursday is probably the strongest day to plan something that's important to you, okay? But then Friday, it goes cloudy and super spiritual again. And I think that's because once you shifted railroad tracks, once you realize your railroad is heading for a new direction, there's this kind of spiritual attunement with yourself as to, is this the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Am I sure I'm not crazy kind of thing? And we've got a ton of 7s going on this day. Black Lilith also reaches step 23 in this time. And so there's a lot of questioning about old fears that will come up on Friday. At the same time on Friday, Mercury's is now at step 29. It's moved up a step in Leo, so you feel your story going forward. So Friday, I guess I'm trying to say that Friday will feel very off, very spiritual. You might find yourself on your knees praying again. And really, it's not that anything is wrong or that we've gone backwards. It's that you've gone forward and you're beginning to finally realize, okay, life is finally moving forward again. And that's what you're going to spiritually kind of attune to on Friday. So cloudy and spiritual on Friday, and feeling a bit lost. I'll just give you a preview. The following Saturday and Sunday is very strong. The moon goes into Taurus. And so after you go through this week of coming back to reality, you start to really pick up speed on the coming weekend. Now, one of the huge influences of this week is the fact that Mercury is going direct. So in our next segment, I thought I would talk about the effects of Mercury on all 12 signs. Go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is Mercury is direct. Thank Goddess for that. And for those who are new to astrology, Mercury is the way we think and process information. And when Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks, 4 times a year, we kind of think inside out. The polarities switch, and so everything feels out of the norm. It's almost like looking at the negative of a photo instead of what would be a photo. We see everything in different, like, black and white terms. And this is, I think, to allow us to see our life in more clarity, although in most cases, I just do not like Mercury retrograde, okay? Now, this particular Mercury retrograde was pretty powerful. It still has an effect on me, obviously, as I tape this, because it began at step 11, Virgo, which is the Grandmaster step of Virgo. So, like, the ruling number of Virgo is 11, and 11 is reality. So we literally began the retrograde taking a look at reality, and then Mercury retrograded all the way back to step 28, Leo, which is the exact step we had the solar eclipse at. And from that solar eclipse point, Mercury then moves direct and goes forward. So the way I see this is, God Universe gave us this big blast of a solar eclipse in Leo, which said, this is what serious joy is. Are you there or not? And you're probably like me, where you answered, I'm not there. Like, I'm so far from there. And I had a lot of realizations. And so Mercury then retrograded back, going, well, let's take a look at your life. Let's take a look at your reality. Let's take a look at the details of the choices that you've made, and re-look at all these things as to why you're not at this step 28 Leo, why you're not at this place of serious joy. So it's kind of backwards, forensic analysis of why your life is not joyful. Mercury going direct now assumes that we've come to the realization, probably on Monday, September 4th, this is the whole thing I wasn't getting about reality. This is where I had my head up my astro. This is where I didn't get it. And from that point, at 28 degrees Leo, Mercury, then we start thinking through the steps. Well, if that's the case, then 29. If 29 is the case, then 0, and then 0, and then 1, and 1 and 2. And so we then rebuild and we reconstruct our reality. And that's why I call this week Coming Back to Reality. But I want to talk about specifically, just so you can walk away with a little soul work to do, and because this is my little weekly contribution to astrology, to my astro friends out there, I want to take a look at each of the 12 signs and what the Mercury retrograde meant for you and where you're thinking forward now, okay? And as always, we will start with the Aries. I will say this before I begin, that Mercury goes direct at 28 degrees Leo on September 5th, and it will go all the way to step 29 Virgo by September 30th. So Mercury will move very fast. And I guess what that means is, as soon as you get it, life is going to slingshot forward, okay? I know it's been in molasses, slow motion, probably since April, honestly. That's what it's felt like. Since April, it's just been, oh, will the story ever change? I think you're going to find this week that as soon as you get it, it's wham! And the entire month of September is going to be planning, communicating, moving forward with business. So, that said, for the Aries, the realization was that you are not having enough fun in life. You are not living in serious joy. The Mercury retrograde brought you back to this idea of what will it take for you to have serious joy. And Mercury direct moving forward now is for you to rethink your health, rethink your routines, rethink where you work, where you live, your entire reality. Basically, by the end of September, Aries, you need to rethink your entire reality from top to bottom so that it can accommodate serious joy. Okay? Taurus, yours had to do with emotional security, and that is so true. I have never cried this much except for this last solar eclipse. My Taurus emotional security was absolutely threatened, and I was searching for it. Mercury retrograde went back to step 28, which is like, okay, this is where emotional security comes from, and this is how we will have it. And then for Tauruses, it's time to think through all the degrees of what your heart wants now that you feel secure. So Tauruses will be rethinking what their heart wants now that they feel secure. Geminis really had to change their mind. I know that sounds cliche, but the solar eclipse was for Geminis to change their mind about something. It could be anything under the sun, but probably change their mind about love. Okay? So once Mercury goes direct and you've got this idea crystallized, you're going to be thinking through all of the emotional things you have to do, all the foundation building, all the home building that you need to do in order to make that idea reality. So you're going to be nest building as Mercury moves direct. Cancers. For Cancers, you were being led to realize what your real true worth is. It was time for you to give yourself a promotion, give yourself a raise. And as Mercury goes direct now, it's actually time to rewrite all of your thinking. So now that you're more valuable, you need to think through, well, that means you don't talk to yourself this way. That means you don't allow people to talk to you that way. That means you don't use this word, you use that word. So Cancers have to reprogram their brains to accommodate the new prices. Leos were heavily affected because they have been really searching for a new characterization of themselves, a new lion, a new proud lion on that mountain, right? And I find it interesting that Lion King 2 is coming out with the North Node of Leo, another topic. So the Mercury retrograde basically got you to thinking about who this new character is. And as you go direct now, you're going to think through the steps of how to make that character valuable, how to sell that character, how to market that character, and what that character is really worth to yourself and to the world. Virgos, and you were thought with the solar eclipse to rethink what your soul mission is, to get to the core of what your soul mission and purpose is. As Mercury goes direct, once you're clear on your soul mission and purpose, you're thinking through the degrees and the steps of what that means as to who you are, what you do, what your behaviors are, what your characterizations are. So all of your defenses and characterizations and your hairstyle and your wardrobe, everything has to change now that you have a new clear soul mission. Libras came to a new clarity about where they belong in the world. So Libras had this calling in the world, this social calling with the solar eclipse. They belong to be at a certain level, a certain popularity, a certain status. And now that Mercury is direct, Libras actually have to think through all their fears. So Libras will be thinking through their fears that might hold them back, and thinking through their faith and reasons why they have to have faith. And once a Libra has it all worked out logically, they can go forward with it. Spilling my tea here. Scorpios actually probably had some sort of epiphany about their legacy and their career future with the solar eclipse. Mercury moved back to that point, was like, okay, if this is your future, then you need to think about who you are in the world, where you live in the world. Do you have the right neighbors to support you? Do you have the right friends to support you? And thinking through all of your marketing, basically, and strategy of getting yourself to that career legacy level. Sagittarius in the solar eclipse came to a realization about their life purpose, their soul calling, their mission, if you will. And once Mercury retrograded back to that mission, they were now beginning with Mercury direct to think through the steps of what their career decisions need to be, what their parenting decisions. If this is their mission, they need to make a whole bunch of new decisions about their future and where it's going. Capricorns. Capricorns made a realization that they need to change their life in the solar eclipse. They became clear that they're going to have to change the temperature of the hot tub. They're going to have to change the shape of their house, the shape of their boundary structure, basically. And so once Mercury goes direct, once you realize that you're going to have to change your shape and change your life, now you are thinking through all the beliefs and education and information that is necessary for you to make that change. So Mercury direct means you're going to think through all the philosophy and planning of this change. Excuse me. Aquarius. Aquarius had a realization with the solar eclipse about their long-term partnerships and how important their partnerships are. Some partnerships no longer important. Some partnerships always been important, but they never paid attention to them. Okay? So once you realize who's really on your team and who's not, or the kind of relationship you need to be in or not, Aquarius, then the Mercury direct is, okay, who do we need to close the door to? Who do we need to open the door to? Basically, you will think through all the boundaries, all the rules based on this new relationship vision that you had in the eclipse. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces came to a realization about what their day-to-day life calling needs to be, what their lifestyle needs to be. All right? And the solar eclipse was all about Pisces getting this bigger, grander vision of what their lifestyle is. With Mercury direct, you will now think through how to go about that and your marriage. In other words, all of your relationships, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your business partners, your siblings, your kids. Every relationship you have, Pisces, needs to be renegotiated because you've decided to live a different type of life. So you're going to be thinking through your relationships and building a new reality based on your relations. So as you can see, excuse me, I need a sip. It's a long take. As you can see, this is a lot of reality building and shifting. And I predict for all 12 signs and your rising signs, you should look at your rising signs too, because this is a very fated time. This month in September and this week in particular, you'll be coming to some powerful changing of the railroad track and moving forward. And once you are clear on the direction and the destination, Sensei says it's rocket time. So I do want to thank you for tuning in and thank you for sharing me with your friends and family. We do have a club on Facebook. If you'd like to join our club and interact and mingle with other lightwalkers, you can reach it at namastetoday.club. And if you would like personal, daily spiritual guidance that will blow your mind through this transition, you should try my personal Sensei service. It's just $3.99 for the first month. It's full of features. You will not regret it. Come on down to SeriousJoy.com for more information on that. All right, friend, I hope you have a fabulous week returning to reality. I'll be back 1 week from today with a video show, but I will not be on this Friday for Friday Live because I'll be traveling to see my family in Colorado. So I won't have Friday Live this Friday, but I'll be back next Monday with another show and the following Friday with a Friday Live. So don't worry, I'm always here for you. Remember, I love you. To live, love, be.